very good evening and thanks for joining us on the news at 7 on NTA International. I'm Comfort Amadou. First, the headlines. Federal government frowns at the slow pace of work at all the substations along Lagos-Ibadan railway corridor. Stakeholders in the security sector advocate community participation in tackling security challenges facing the country. An air task force of Operation Lafayette neutralizes more Boko Haram terrorists. And now the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari will depart Abuja Sunday for Japan to participate in the 7th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD, from August 28 to 30th August 2019. A statement from the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says President Buhari will be participating for the second time, having attended TICAD 6 in Nairobi, Kenya in 2016 with the Team Africa and Yokohama sharing passion for the future. President Buhari will deliver Nigerian statement during the plenary session 3, in which he will appraise Nigeria-Japan relations and takeaways from TICAD 6. The president will also attend other major and side events in the Japan and hold a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister. He will also meet the chief executive officers of some Japanese companies with huge investments in Nigeria. Formed in 1993, TICAD is the largest international conference held in Japan that provides an open forum that generates innovative discussions among various stakeholders on African development. President Buhari will be accompanied by governors of Borno, Kwara and Lagos states, as well as ministers and other top government officials. The president is expected back in Nigeria on Saturday, August 31st. Now, the Nigerian Air Force says scores of Boko Haram terrorists have been neutralized and their hideout destroyed at Bulka Korege on the fringes of the Sambisa forest in Borno State. In a statement by the NAF Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibukunle Daramola, this was achieved on 23rd August 2019 in airstrikes conducted by the Air Task Force of Operation Lafayette as part of missions in the ongoing Operation Sweep 3. The target was designated for attack based on credible intelligence reports, which were further corroborated by a series of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions that established the settlement as a major hub of Boko Haram terrorist activities. The Air Task Force therefore detailed 2 Alpha jets to attack the target area, recording hits on the Boko Haram terrorist hideout and killing several of their fighters, as captured in the battle damage assessment footage. Stakeholders in the security sector have advocated community participation in tackling the security challenges facing the country. This was the submission of speakers at an international security conference in Abuja. Hamman Jabani reports.
The 12th International Security Conference with the theme International Influence on Domestic Terrorism seeks to answer pertinent questions such as what are the sources of funding, training, logistics and equipment for such terrorist groups threatening the peace of the country. The organizer, International Institute of Professional Security, and other stakeholders say for security to be achieved, there must be community and youth participation, provision of basic education, poverty reduction, and capacity building of the security agencies.
What are their roles when it comes to true fight against terrorism in this country? We are tired of it. We don't want terrorism in this country again. But we also understand the fact that, no foreigner, no Westerner can die for an African. Rather, they will want you to die for them.
The lessons we have learned is that security challenges could be best tackled through community engagement, honest and sincere dialogue, and taking practical steps to sustain peace efforts.
The security experts believe that with the present security drive by President Muhammadu Buhari, the country will soon come out of its security challenges.
The next thing to begin to do is to see how much we can encourage synergy between and within all the security agencies and apparatus in the country. in such a way that they work with the minimum efforts for maximum efficiency.
We can make it happen. But is the government ready to make it inclusive of those in the diaspora to be part of it? It is not just about awarding contracts, but it's about policies and training programs that will bring the country back to its normal hills.
A communique is expected at the end of the conference that will be submitted to the relevant quarters for their consideration. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
Now with less than 3 months to the governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states, what is the level of preparations by the INEC in terms of logistic? Mayor Gidi takes up Festus Okoye, the INEC National Commissioner for Information, on this.
Before the end of this week, all the non-sensitive materials for the conduct of elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states will be in those states. And in relation to the sensitive materials, we are also working on the sensitive materials. And we are going to make sure that all the sensitive materials arrive all these states on time. For Kogi State, we are going to have and train at least 16,139 election officials for the conduct of the elections. And for Bayelsa, we are going to train nothing less than 10,063 election officers to conduct the elections in Bayelsa. And for Bayelsa State, you know that almost 5 of the local governments are riverine. So we are also making arrangements for the hiring of gunboats that will protect our election officials and our election materials on the high seas. We are going to transmit the results of the elections in Kogi and in Bayelsa states manually in accordance with the provisions of the law.
Now, state governments in the country have been encouraged to be proactive in domesticating ongoing efforts by the federal government to diversify the economy, especially through agriculture and the solid mineral sectors. Osun State Governor Adegboyega Oyetola said this while speaking with newsmen after a meeting with the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in Abuja.
My state is part of the Presidential Artisanal Development Initiative, KB and Osun. So mining is very important. Don't forget that the first mining company that is listed in the Toronto Stock Exchange is from Osun. So that is the way to go. Oil has actually not allowed us to develop the non-oil sector. This is the time to diversify.
Also reacted to persistent critics over his delay in constituting the state cabinet.
A judgment from the Supreme Court. It wouldn't have been reasonable for me to set up a cabinet when I wasn't too sure of what would happen in terms of the litigation. So it's ongoing. The parties have been asked to nominate members of the will-be cabinet. So I believe in a couple of weeks to be able to have concluded that.
Now, the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, has expressed dismay over the slow pace of works at all the substations along the Lagos-Ibadan railway corridor. He directed the contractors handling the work to be proactive and deliver the project at the stipulated time. He stated this during the inspection of the ongoing Lagos-Ibadan railway project in Lagos. Michael Olali reports.
The minister started the inspection from Ebute Meta Terminal before proceeding to Costain, where the construction of a flyover, a replacement for the present bridge, is ongoing in Lagos. The minister and his team later proceeded to Apapa before heading to Abeokuta and Ibadan axis of the project. Unlike the previous inspections, construction of substations along the Lagos-Ibadan railway corridor was the main focus of the assessments.
Those crossings you see, if you don't create an avenue for the vehicles to cross, you either block Lagos completely and there will be traffic madness, or you create passes. So we're creating underpasses and we're creating overpasses, depends on where they are necessary. And those ones, about 11 to 16 of them, they will cost money. So we need to go and get approval from the cabinet. Okay. And that's what slowed them down.
The minister also restated government's plan to create more job opportunities for Nigerian youth from the project.
We are insisting that they cannot continue to manufacture coaches, locomotives, and wagons in China and selling to us. So as part of one of the benefits we'll get out of the contract we're giving them, they will build a factory in Kajola for now. They will begin to manufacture wagons, but they will progress from wagons to locomotives and coaches, and Nigerians will understudy them.
The inspection was the first official assignment to be carried out by the minister after his second-term inauguration into the federal cabinet. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NT News.
And the federal government's clampdown on cross-border crimes is working at Semiland border with the strengthening of security around the corridors for proper enforcement of operational directives. Mohammed Abdul Kadir reports that 4 days down the line after the closure, the border communities are at peace with security operatives for successful conduct of exercise and swift response.
The aftermath of the closure of Seme border is changing the narrative of the socio-economic activities of the area. It emplaces sanity in one of the nation's biggest and busiest border. It's dawned on keen observers and residents in the border communities that there are no better evidences to prove the workability of elements of surprise in counter-offensive strategy of the government to checkmate cross-border crimes than the closure. 20 years down the line, Mr. Eze David has been into clearing and forwarding business around Seme border.
We like what the government is doing, at least to checkmate the criminals.
The standstill scenario of hundreds of loaded heavy trucks around the ECOWAS multi-millionaire automated scanning machine is sending warning to smugglers of contrabands to quit or be quenched. The influx and exodus of people whose lifelines depend on functional border applaud the federal government for wielding a big stick to secure the border. At checkpoints in and out of Seme border, security operatives are having hectic time conducting stop and search. The leadership of the lead paramilitary agency, Nigeria Customs Service, declined comment on the ground that the exercise falls within the purview of the National Security Advisor. The joint border security exercise being coordinated by the National Security Advisor, codenamed Exercise Swift Response, is being carried out swiftly and seamlessly here at Seme border. From Semiland border, Muhammad Abdul Kadir, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minabida Road linking the southern part of the state with the capital is on the verge of being cut off. Dauda Mohammed, just back from the area, reports that motorists are appealing for the authorities to intervene before the road collapses.
Niger State, with approximately 10% of Nigeria's landmass, has over 2,000 kilometers of federal roads traversing the state and linking about 3 geopolitical zones. However, recent challenges of security, especially on the Birnin-Gwari-Kaduna axis, and the deplorable condition of the Bokani-Makera road, most motorists, especially articulated trucks, have now switched to Minabida road to link up with the southwest and southeast, which has put enormous pressure on the road.
We
no longer follow the Birnin-Gwari road because of kidnappers on that road. The last time 4 of our drivers were kidnapped, this road is better for us.
The road is very bad, it's not good at all. I'm telling you, we suffer too much for this road, I beg.
The Minabida road, built about 35 years ago, is 86 kilometers over sometimes swampy terrain, which has already given way due to pressure and activity of underground water.
This is one of the spots on the busy Minabida road that has collapsed due to heavy downpour and heavy traffic, especially of articulated trucks, most of whom are overloaded.
Yes, the number of trailers, 24 hours in the route, is not easy. And the rain again. And the goods that the trailer carry is beyond the route. It can't be able to take it.
Though the state government has carried out emergency repairs, the situation is proving to be beyond its capacity.
The federal government should help, in repairing the main federal road that is between Mokwa, Tegina, down to Kaduna, so that heavy trucks will kind of lessen plying on this road.
The Minna-Bida road is the only direct route linking the state capital with the southern part of the state. In Minna, Dauda Mohammed, NTA News.
Let's now pause for some commercials. More reports in a moment.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go so let the change begin from within. Look at you, oh get roller. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Many thanks for staying tuned with us on the news at 7 on NTA International. Now, there is a call or concern among members of the academia, professional engineers and industrialists on how to harness the skills of young Nigerians for industrial development, especially in the power sector. To address this, the Power Africa Conference in Abuja, convened by the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, brought together young professional engineers and industrialists to look at innovations by youths in Nigeria to develop the energy sector. Austin Anyebe reports.
Nigeria is blessed with talented people who on their own have indulged in the creation of products of different kinds. These talents abound in both urban and rural areas, of which the present administration is trying to harness for industrial development. The conference therefore brought together young professionals, academia, industrialists from some countries of the world to discuss and share success stories of breakthrough in different sectors of the economy.
When we say power access, what we are saying is basically this: no wire from the national grid is connected to your house.
This is certainly opening up a lot of opportunity for special interest group to be created in Nigeria and make sure we create a long-lasting roadmap, for the students, for young engineers, and also senior members and fellows in Nigeria.
Participants have the view that the opportunities in Africa are bigger than the problems, and the institute says it is prepared to work with the government to improve the power sector.
What we're looking at and what we're seeing is that Africa is the last great frontier for bringing in electricity for residents and for industry.
One thing the forum agreed on is the need to go through research work by students of tertiary institutions that provide solutions to the problems in the water, electricity and agriculture, which industries need to take advantage of.
From an industry perspective, we go beyond just the theory to seeing how we can move what we've learned from school to actually providing, what the nation needs.
Comes to technology, digital, Nigerian kids are standing out everywhere they go. So if they're standing out abroad, the skills started from being developed in Nigeria.
They stress the need for government to work out modalities towards identifying skills and encouraging them to achieve their potentials. In Abuja, I'm Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
And for Weekend Review, Ilyasu Ali Yakub is our guide.
Glad to have you join me on another week's edition of Week in Review, where we bring to your viewing pleasure stories that made headlines during the week. We begin with a latest step by the federal government to improve waterways. The federal government is combating all forms of criminality on the country's waterways. The latest step in achieving these is the inauguration of the C41 Operational Center, dedicated to intelligence monitoring of activities on Nigerian territorial waters. Still in the week under review, the Supreme Court has struck out an appeal by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Atiku Abubakar, on the party's inability to reply the objection of the All Progressives Congress at the presidential election petition court. This appeal comes from APC's challenge of the competence of the PDP's petition at the court. The five-man panel of the Supreme Court justices led by Justice Dattijo Muhammad ruled that Atiku's reply was filed out of time. Meanwhile, assisting President Muhammadu Buhari to deliver the next level agenda in the social contract with Nigerians is a task that must be accomplished. This was emphasized by some of the ministers designate and other top government functionaries who spoke on the sidelines of the ongoing presidential retreat in Abuja. While at the closing ceremony of the retreat, President Muhammadu Buhari says although the challenges bedeviling the country are significant, he has absolute confidence in the capabilities and patriotic commitment of the ministers designate to not only deliver a better Nigeria, but also to ensure a brighter future for all. This was at the closing of the two presidential retreats for the appointees aimed at building a stronger platform for synergy and teamwork. In a related development, President Muhammadu Buhari has warned the newly appointed ministers not to allow issues relating to political affiliation, sectional interest, and primordial loyalties becloud their patriotic obligation towards shifting nation's trajectory on the path of sustainable growth and development. He said meaningful progress can only be made in Nigeria's restoration effort if they all commit themselves towards addressing prevailing challenges in the best interest of all Nigerians. This was at the swearing-in of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the 43 newly appointed members of the Federal Executive Council. President Muhammadu Buhari, while in Kaduna during the week, inaugurated the second phase of Zaria Water Project. The water project was initiated by the previous administration and completed by Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna State to produce and supply potable drinking water to more than 2 million people in Zaria and its environs. The week under review also recorded these cheering news where the federal government has flagged off the voluntary repatriation of. That's it on this segment. My name is Ilyasu Ali Yakubu. The news continues.
And on the foreign scene, a worker at the UK consulate in Hong Kong, Simon Shing, has been released by mainland China after being held at the border by the Chinese police. Simon was said to have gone missing on the 8th of August during a business trip to the city, but has now returned to Hong Kong. China's foreign minister said he had been detained for 15 days for violating public security laws. It comes as anti-government protests in Hong Kong enter their third month. The large-scale demonstrations were sparked by a now suspended extradition bill that would have allowed Hong Kong to send criminal suspects to China for trial. The police said Mr. Shing had been released as scheduled and that his legal rights had been observed. The UK's Foreign Office described Simon Shing's release as a welcome development. In another development, Donald Trump has hit back at China by announcing new higher tariffs on imports, escalating mounting trade war between the two nations. Mr. Trump announced an additional tariff release of 5% on imports from China. The move came hours after the president hit out at Chinese plans to hit $75 billion of U.S. goods with duties. Mr. Trump described the actions as politically motivated and has accused the country of taking advantage of the U.S. Up next is a quick check on Sunday's weather prospects for Nigeria and some cities of the world. And that concludes the news at 7 on NTA News International. Thanks for watching. I'm Comfort Amodu.